You just heard this morning about seeing, feeling validated and heard. You heard a phenomenal panel of students speaking their truth and what they need to feel from all of us. I get to now talk to you a little bit about how this all evolves, and I get to be vulnerable in front of you. Because as your leader, if you know a little bit about my background, then you come to understand how I lead. And then this opens up the opportunity for you to share why you lead and who you are. You see, there's this thing called a public narrative. And it talks about me and then how we connect and how the urgent matter of now. And the students that we heard from up here and their urgency is what we're all about. And so when I move fast, it's because there's not a lot of time to waste. Our babies are graduating and they're entering the world, and that urgency is behind making sure that they're ready. They're ready for their amazing journey to begin in the post-secondary world. So today I'm gonna do a little quick 15-minute talk with you, and it's gonna be about understanding our assignment. So you get to learn a little bit about me, and then I want you to think about how it connects with you. So my name is Dr. Zandra Jo, because my papa is Jose, and he wanted all the girls to have his name. So I'm Zandra Jo, my sister's Linda Jo, and Debbie Jo. And then I have three brothers. Joe is one of them, right? And then Mike and Lionel. So Zandra Jo is because of that. Zamora, my dad wanted Sandra Zamora, pero porque no hay una Z el sonido en español, ¿verdad? No, we don't have a Z in Spanish. It's Sandra Zamora. So I was little Z growing up. I'm the baby of 6. And I'm really the baby, like 9 years later, baby. I know, my mom said, what happened? I said, Mom, you know what happened. And then De Galvan, because I married my husband, this man I fell in love with at Hartnell College. And he's here in the audience. Where are you? Javi Galvan, up there in the top. And he doesn't like it when I say Zamora. He's like, I'm the one my name. I'm like, well, I got to give Papa some tribute too. All right, so this talk is about understanding the assignment. So there's going to be 3 components to this talk with you. One is about my childhood, but I want you to think about your childhood. I'm going to talk with you a little bit about my family, but I want you to think about your family. And then I'm going to talk about my professional calling, and I want you to think about your professional calling, okay? So it's a call to action is what it really is. Okay, so these 2 quotes are a couple things that really guide who I am. And the first one connects to a lot of what we've heard today. You are here today in a very, very good position because of the pain and suffering and the endurance of someone who came before you. Yes. And so when we talk about our assignment, we need to pay tribute to those who endured pain and suffering and trials and tribulations to come to this country from wherever they came from. And so that first quote that you see right there is, "Dear ancestors, I understand the assignment. I understand what I have been called to do, and it is a purpose greater than me. Just like it is a purpose greater than you. And I want you to sit with that. I want you to feel that in your heart and in your bones, and just feel those who endured everything in order for us to be able to have a wonderful job in this community." And the second one that I want you to carry with you in your heart as we enter this new school year is about the 2 most important days in your life. That's when it gets real. The first day that is so important is the day you were born, because you're here, and the day you discover why. You see, the students in our classrooms today are looking for you to share who you are, because we know kids learn more and engage with you when you share who you are. So these two quotes are going to guide the conversation we're going to have as I share with you my childhood, my family, and my professional calling. So my childhood, you heard I was the baby of 6, and really the baby. Where are the babies in the room? Stand up if you're a baby. Stand up, please, yes. Okay, we are sorry to the rest of you because babies are extra. We are extra. By design, we are extra. Stand up if you are the oldest in the family and had to deal with all the babies. Oh, there's more of you. So you know what I'm talking about. Yes. So our childhood, my childhood, I was created by design. And when I say by design, I was born right here in the Salinas Valley in the Salinas Hospital to parents who came from Texas to come to California seeking a better life, and from grandparents who came and crossed to get from Mexico into Texas. And I'll share a little bit about that. But you'll see there a little girl growing up in Greenfield, California. Yes, Green Pass, if you know, you know. You see that little casita there in the middle? I am so proud, and I want our kids to be proud. If you live with, all your tios and your tias and your siblings, that's okay. If your house doesn't look all fancy, that's okay. Because in a home that looks like that my dad converted the garage into 2 rooms, that little house where we didn't have central heating nor AC, in that little house where we only had 1 small bathroom for 8 people, is full of love. I didn't know. We didn't know that we didn't have what we needed to have because we had it all. We had the love. We had the food. We had clean clothes. We had food on the table. If my mom had 2 loaves of bread, you know what she would do? She'd give away 1 to the neighbor because that's who we are. I didn't realize that she was modeling for me how to be a good human. And so right there, you'll see my mom and my dad. You'll see down there, you won't see my big sister's head look like she got cut off there, but that's Moss Landing. On Sundays, we would get in the station wagon. Yes, and I would be the one in the back waving to all the cars, doing this, right? To all the truckers. We'd stop at the local market. She'd buy 1 loaf of bread and a pack of bologna. Sometimes we'd get mayonnaise, maybe, if there was a good week. And we'd go on a country drive. And then one more thing. My brother and I, we had to go in the backyard. My job was to dig up the worms so we could go fishing off the rocks in Moss Landing. How about that? Yes, that's childhood. So that little kindergartner, that little 5-year-old grew up with that kind of love. So I want you to think about your childhood and what you carry, and think about that journey and how beautiful your family, whoever was called your family when you grew up. And then now I'm gonna get real. And this is something I carry with me. My dad is a 92-year-old man. He lives down the street because my husband and I wanted our oldest, who's 15, to have my parents in her life. And so my parents came from West Texas, Snyder, Texas to be exact. And it was in the 60s. And those are the signs that my father saw. And if you know our Latin men, they're very proud. And if you have 4 children, and you're trying to go into a store and get fed, or a hamburger joint and get hamburgers, or if you're trying to go into a barber shop and get your hair cut and they say no. We don't cut hair here, sir. We don't serve your kind here, sir. You see, in the 60s, my father came to Chular, California first. That's right, Chularians are in the house. And then he went back to Greenfield, Greenvas, and then he went back to Chular, and then ended up settling in Greenfield. But here's what happened. He sent, as many of us do, we send the elders first, right? And so his Theos came out to Salinas Valley, and he said, hey, it's a good place. They're gonna receive you. They're gonna recognize you. We got some friends, there's some, farm working establishments. You can come out here and it's gonna be okay. So he loaded up the semi, my mom and him. He bought a trailer, like the real trailers that carry the tomatoes and the sugar beets in the back. And that's where the kids rode. My 4 older siblings rode in the back of the trailer coming out here to the Salinas Valley. So when I carry with me and I see a family that we serve in our community, and they speak only Spanish and I speak the language, and I see them being mistreated, or they don't know how to navigate the American public school system, I think of my father, I think of my mother, and I think of all the others that are trying to navigate this world in just the most deliberate way, only so that their children, our children, can be educated. I now get to take my dad with me. Every Sunday's our day. I go pick him up. He's 92, and we go, where do you want to go, Papa? Pues vamos para acá. Let's go eat menudo. And then one time I took him for something else. He's like, this is not menudo. No. And then I even take him sometimes, and some of you have met my papa, because I brought him over to Salinas Adult Center when we had one of our job recruitment fairs. But he is vivo, and he will tell you so. And so I'm very proud to be his daughter, because of his pain and suffering and the pride he had to swallow. We're here. Otherwise, we would not be here. Okay, my childhood influence. So here's what I want you to know also is gatekeeping. How many of you know what gatekeeping is? Raise your hand. Okay. So I was gatekept. I was a little girl growing up in Greenfield, California, who went to a different district in a bus, neighboring district, to go to school. And when I got there, and I won't say the name of the district or the school, but when I got there, they didn't recognize who I was, and I had, Greenfield kids had a reputation of, what they might do, because those were the, some of the Mexican kids, and so I was probably just gonna get pregnant and drop out of school, and so they didn't invest in me. And so when I graduated from that high school, mind you, when I was a junior, I was the ASB Commissioner of Publicity. I was the ASB President as a senior. I played 3 sports. I was almost the homecoming queen. I lost it by a few votes. None of my counselors believed in me. They didn't even recognize me as a person of value and potential to be able to go into the world and dream greatly. So I didn't even know. I didn't apply to one single university because nobody believed in this little brown girl. And so what happened is, I said, well, I love sports. I'm gonna go play ball at Hartnell College. So I went to Hartnell College, dropped in. It was $50 all-you-can-eat buffet with classes. 50 bucks. I ate it all. I took all kinds of classes. And I played softball. But let me tell you what happened when I was there. I went to the guidance counselor, and this is why our counselors in this district, I love you so much because you're so important and you do magical things with our kids and you advise them in so many ways. My counselor, you know what she told me? Oh, just take 3 classes. I said, okay, hold on. I just came from a high school and I was taking 7 classes and I was playing sports and I was getting straight A's, and you want me to take 3 classes? Yeah, just enough. I said, well, I want to play sports. Oh, okay, then take 4 classes because you got to have 12 units in order to be able to play. And I said, okay, so how long is it going to take me to graduate? Because I want to keep going. Oh, don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. You're from Greenfield, right? Yeah. Okay, you'll be fine. I said, okay, thank you very much. And this little brown girl, who's the baby of 6 with a confident mom and a dad, said, you know what? See you later. And I handled it myself. I took 23 units every semester. I graduated on time, transferred on to Fresno State to get my teaching credential, and was top of my class. Where's my Bulldogs in the house? Woo, woo. That's right. Woo, woo. While I was teaching, I went to I went to CSUMB first. So where are my honors? Woo! Got a master's degree when I was teaching. And then I said, okay, I want to get a master's degree so I can be a boss. They're like, oh, sorry. I didn't have really good counselors in my life. So I didn't know that wasn't the kind of master's you could get to be a boss. I said, oh, I got to do this again? They're like, yes, do it again. I said, okay, I'll go to San Jose State and I'll be a Spartan. Where's my San Jose State Spartans in the house? Woo! So then I got my other master's and a administrative credential. But you see, that wasn't enough because these gatekeepers pissed me off. Because anyone who takes it upon themselves to decide who does or does not have access or rights to a community or an identity was not going to tell me and define me, nor you or our kids. So you see, I went to one of the most prestigious colleges in the nation and earned a doctorate degree last year. Where are my USC grads? Fight on! Whew. And another reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to show my own children what was possible, and also the children that we serve within the communities that we get to serve. All right, so my family. All of us in this room, family's a big deal for us. I see it. When you see each other, you're like family. And so I can only imagine what it happens at your house and when you have your parties on the weekends. Because this is like a love fest when we hang out with our family. So my family, I live my life to make them proud. I really do. And I take what I've endured in my life as a young person to transcend that into the future to be a model. I'm not going to feel guilt about it. I'm going to prove that it's possible for all of our other students to do that. So my family, I live to make them proud. So on the next slide is the man I talked to you about, my daddy. 92 years old. If we are friends on social media, you'll see how much I love him. Big Red, any Texans in the house? No? Yeah, if you know, you know. Big Red is red cream soda, so delicious. He loves it. I found it at the Dollar General in town. Found it, brought it to him. But this right here, you see why it's so important. And I just want to congratulate everyone in this room because we grew from 84% graduation rate to 90%, you guys, from last year to this year. That's you. Because here's what we know about graduations. The child doesn't cross the stage. The whole family crosses the stage. And so my dad was the first person to put on my USC regalia before I even did. And he couldn't believe, and his eyes welled up. And if you know our Latino dads, they don't cry very much. They're not very emotional, but he was crying. Tears just rolled down his face with a sense of pride that he had. I don't know if you know this part here. How many of you remember Spreckle Sugar in town? Yeah, Spreckle Sugar, that's it right there. My dad's putting up his fist because I asked him on one of our Sundays when we took a drive about Spreckles, and I said, Dad, so tell me about the time when you came from Texas here and you were working. He's like, well, I was a sugar beet hauler. I got a semi, I had the truck that we brought the kids in, and so I used that to go pick up sugar beets out in the field. And we would have to get in line, and they'd give us a ticket. And if I didn't have that ticket, I wouldn't get paid. And if I didn't get paid, our family wouldn't have food on the table. And so I said, wow, Dad, that's pretty serious business. So how'd you make sure you stayed in line? And what happened? Did anyone ever try to cut you off? He's like, oh yeah. There was many that tried to cut me off to take my money. And I said, no. So he did this. He goes, that's what I did if anybody tried to cut me off, because I take care of my family. And then you'll see the others. When I graduated from USC, he was like, how many of you remember Gilligan's Island? Anybody? That was his Thurston Howell III situation right there with this fight on. All right, let me speed this up because I know I got to get our team back on track. The other lady who is incredibly important to me is my mommy. She passed away 3 years ago on August 21st of this month. I'm not going to be well because that'll be her 3rd year anniversary. I might even call in sick and take my dad for a drive. She was the light. She was the wind beneath my wings. She designed me to be bold, and she told me, Mija, if anybody tells you you don't deserve to be in that space, you tell them, watch me. If anybody messes with you and you get in a fight at school because somebody said something about you and you come home and you lost, I'm going to beat you. So you better have won. So you see all the joy. Do you see her face and how it lights up? I delivered her eulogy 3 years ago. And when I did that, I didn't even know the impact that she made on other people. Like, I didn't even know all the women and the people in our community that depended on her, and all the people that she called and that would call her for advice. Like, I didn't even know until that day, and the room was full of people to honor her. Like, I didn't even know that. She was so full of life, and I am my mother's daughter. I didn't even know what she was modeling for me about the loaves of bread and the being kind and the finding someone and just talking to them. I didn't even know that that's what she was creating in me until I manifest that in my daily life here today. And so, God, thank you so much for taking care of her up there. Because of her, you get to have this version of me here today. Next slide. And then, of course, our own children, right? The pain and suffering that my dad went through, that my grandparents went through, so that I could be here today, and that our kids, like teachers' kids, our kids here in this, that we get to serve as a community, they get to have a very different life. And I need to make sure that my husband and I teach them to always be grateful, so that they too enter spaces realizing that their grandparents and great-grandparents endured a lot for them to be able to do what they get to do. Next slide. And so, our professional callings. You got to learn about my childhood. How does that connect with yours? You got to hear about my family, your family, and what they mean to you and those who have come before you. And now it's about changing the narrative. What happened to me, I'm not going to feel, any certain way about it. I'm just going to use that as fuel to change systems and help support our kids as we move forward. Next slide. Wow. To be a Latina and to be able to serve a district that has over 90% of our students who look like me, and young girls when I walk on a campus and they see me and they visualize, like the students who said, wow, I want to see representation in positions of people that look like me. I get to talk to them about that. Females, our daughters, our girls in our schools, wow. Like, just hanging out with them is a privilege and an honor. And each one of those beautiful girls there, I know their name. There's a story behind that picture that I could tell you all about. I'll tell you one, and that's J-Lo in the front. Where's Ms. Boteo and our culinary over at Mission Trails ROP Center? Where are you guys? Woo! And she's also an Eagle, so where are my Eagles? So J-Lo, I was walking around Eagle Nation on their campus, and she came up to me, she says, I know who you are. I said, you do? I said, yes. Who am I? She says, you're the superintendent. I heard about you. I heard about you walk around schools a lot and you talk to kids. I said, I do. How'd you know that? She goes, like, word gets around. I said, okay. And this is like, I started October 1st. This is like Dia de los Muertos time. And she says, I need you to come over to Miss Boteo has a lesson that she's going to do, and she wants you to come too. I said, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to make cookies, and we're going to decorate them together. Will you come? I said, I'll be there. And that's the day that we made cookies in Miss Boteo's kitchen as at Mission Trail RP. Every one of those has a story. Next slide. And so my calling is really about all of these beautiful children in our schools, and so many of those, you know who they are. My phone is now like at 210,000 pictures because I get to hang out with kids, and it's so joyful. So this is my calling, to show our kids what we're all about. Next slide. And so our why, you heard this morning. Got to carry that with our heart. If we don't do it, no one else will. So we got to make sure that we break them free so they can do big dreams, because what was up here is a representation of many, many, many others that we serve. Next slide. And this is why this is so important, because the work that we're doing is going to be deliberate and intentional in every one of our spaces throughout the district. And then the last slide. I want you to think about your childhood, your family, who shaped you, why you're here today, your professional calling. And on the last slide, we started with this, and I'll end with this. When you walk through our classrooms on the first day of school, when you go to your spaces tomorrow, I want you to think about, dear ancestors, I understand the assignment. Because when you understand your purpose, 2 days of that were most important, when you were born, and the day you discover why, everything becomes more clear. Thank you for allowing me to be vulnerable in front of you. I wish you a fabulous year.